Hello and welcome back to another video. You're going to hear my son playing in the background, so just ignore him. Today, I'm doing something a little different than what I normally do. I mentioned in my last video, I wanted to shift my content over to more music-related commentary, so here we are. I'm still kind of keeping my hater energy though, because I want to talk about musicians who fell off. And I could literally spend 19 hours just talking about this, considering just how many there are. But I only chose a couple today to talk about out of the huge stockpile of them. I'm not going to talk about one-hit wonders or musicians who just blew up from being basically a meme in this video. I want to talk about musicians who actually produced real music and some who almost became a household name before completely disappearing, or instead have to resort to clip farming and drama to stay relevant. And speaking of clip farming, my first example is Tekashi 69. Born Daniel Hernandez, but now mainly just known as 6ix9ine, he first chose to begin to make music in 2012 when a customer at a bodega he worked at had asked if he was already a rapper given his looks of rainbow hair and face tattoos. Despite that, he had waited to release any music until 2014, and even then, it took him 3 years after that to blow up into mainstream media, with his first appearance actually a feature on Trippie Redd's song Pose 1469. This was the same year Trippie Redd would begin his rise to fame as well. 6ix9ine released his commercial debut single called Gummo, and between that and the way he looked, he had skyrocketed into stardom. 2017 was the year to be the image of a SoundCloud rapper. It really seemed like social media would blow you up despite how bad your music was, as long as you had colorful hair and face tattoos. It especially helped if you were making stupid videos on Instagram. Around this time, while 6ix9ine was a rapper during the day, he was a gang member at night. He would pay off the 9 Trey gangsters while they offered him protection and credibility in his career, even shouting them out in a lot of his earlier songs. In 2018, 6ix9ine would release his second mixtape, Day 69, and I haven't heard a single song from this, so take that how you will. Even though 2 of them did peak on the Billboard Hot 100 as spot 50 and spot 73. In 2018, he would collab on a song with Nicki Minaj, making this the third sex offender she would associate with, because Daniel Hernandez had pled guilty to a felony count of use of a child in a sexual performance in 2015. Tekashi 6ix9ine would film his adult friend getting a blowjob by a 13-year-old despite himself being 18. In the video, which he would later post on social media, he is standing behind a naked teen and making thrusting movements while touching her. There are also videos of the child sitting on his lap. He was charged for this in 2018 and forced to serve 4 years of probation. But this is not what had made him fall off. Of course not, seeing as how there are literal rapists who are celebrated today. 6ix9ine's criminal career was far from over though. Despite having a viable music career, he was still promoting gang activity. He was involved in a shooting at the Barclays Center with Casanova during their feud. Then, someone attempted to shoot Chief Keef when him and Tekashi 6ix9ine were publicly having issues. Shocking, it was 6ix9ine who would plead guilty to ordering the shooting of Chief Keef. Later on, in his most well-known case, Tekashi 6ix9ine would be charged with federal RICO and firearm charges, including conspiracy to murder and armed robbery. He faced a possible mandatory sentence of 47 years in prison, but because he agreed to testify against his co-defendants, he was given a lighter sentence. Daniel Hernandez would only receive a sentence of 2 years after testifying against the 9 Trey gangsters. And this is what would cause Tekashi 6ix9ine to fall off. It wasn't because he was a sex offender or a woman abuser or because his music just genuinely sucked. It is because he was a snitch who is now a meme. After he had been released from prison for the RICO charges, despite blowing up, from stealing black culture and even spamming the N-word multiple times in every song, he decided he wanted to make a Spanish album now. He released a full album in 2023, and that's the last time his songs managed to make any type of noise. After that, Tekashi 69 was forced to find relevancy on Twitch streams. He collabed with big names like Aiden Ross and Neon before even trying to break into the conservative sphere like most flop celebrities and sex offenders, but it didn't last very long. Now you can find him online giving betting advice, the newest trending topic on social media. Another rapper on this list, similar to 6ix9ine in terms of being a culture watcher, is Iggy Azalea. Iggy Azalea would move to the United States in 2006 at the age of 16 to pursue music. She wouldn't actually blow up into mainstream media until 8 years later when her debut album had been released, despite getting a co-sign from T.I. all the way back in 2012. That was the same year she was included in the XXL freshman class alongside rappers like MGK, French Montana, and Hopsin. Two rappers I could have also included in this list, to be honest. Iggy had originally garnered popularity from her song Work, gaining even more traction when she followed it up with Bounce. But when Azalea released a new classic in 2014, she seemingly blew up overnight. The debut single Fancy blew her to stardom, and ironically, while this song had launched Iggy into the limelight, it would be Charli XCX's potential fall-off for 10 years up until recently. The same year, Iggy was also featured on Problem with Ariana Grande when she was going through her blackfishing phase since she was with Big Sean, and Black Widow with Rita Ora. Iggy Azalea was everywhere in 2014. You couldn't even drive 10 minutes down the road without hearing a song of hers come on the radio. Going to Walmart for even 45 minutes would have you covering your ears just to get away from an Iggy Azalea song. Iggy Azalea was a very rare sight at this time. There was only one popular mainstream female rapper at this point, and it was obviously Nicki Minaj. But if I started on my belief that Nicki Minaj purposely sabotaged other women because she couldn't handle any other female rapper getting popular, we would be here for an hour. Iggy Azalea, being a white woman who was actively stealing from black culture, was also a point that people would continuously make, especially when she would refer to herself as a slave master in a remix to a Kendrick song. She would release 2 songs in 2017 that would blow up, but after that, it was radio silence until 2019. She would release Sally Walker, a highly speculated diss track, on Bad Baby after the 15-year-old meme threw a drink at her. This song became her highest charting single in 13 years. But as of 2024, Iggy Azalea has officially retired from music, and you likely don't hear her name come up much anyway. That is, unless you're a literal kid who actually enjoys watching Neon, or you subscribe to her OnlyFans. And I promise I'm not only going to talk about rappers today, but the next one on my list definitely is. Chance the Rapper had blown up very quickly into his career. He had released his debut mixtape in 2012, but it wasn't until the following year where he would garner attention and be boosted into mainstream media after the release of Acid Rap, his second mixtape. Acid Rap included Chance's debut solo single, Juice. There was an unclear sample in this song that would force Chance to take it off streaming services, but by then it had already blown up and was received well by critics. Chance the Rapper would continue to ride that success when his third mixtape, Coloring Book, would drop. That mixtape went on to win a Grammy, making it the first streaming-only project to win one. At this point in his career, Chance the Rapper hadn't even released his debut album. So far, it had only been mixtapes, and if you don't know the difference between mixtapes versus albums, it's basically the production. Albums are polished and presented for radio, or songs that all tell a story, whereas mixtapes are more low value and fun. Mixtapes are usually released by people independently without a label, whereas albums are the complete opposite. But that didn't apply to Chance the Rapper, who would go on to never actually sign to a record label, despite being scouted by Kanye West in 2016. He would turn down this offer, going on to release his debut album independently 3 years later. The Big Day was released on July 26, 2019, and it had actually debuted at number 2 on the US Billboard 200. And music was very rough at this time because the number 1 album that Chance couldn't bypass was The Search by NF. And honestly, I should have included him on this list also, but it's too late now. The Big Day was the beginning of the end for Chance the Rapper. The album had consisted of songs that were made specifically for TikTok, all the way to songs about how much he loves his wife. But it also consisted of songs where the majority of people agreed were garbage, like literal shit from the butt. Rolling Stones even included it in their list of the 50 most disappointing albums of all time. Artists have bad albums all the time and recover. So how did this ruin Chance's career? His reaction to it. While Chance had never said anything publicly about the failure of his album, at least not at the height of all the criticism, he never said anything at all. No new music, no recovery. It wasn't until 2025 he would release his second studio album titled Starline. But by then, it really didn't matter because no one cared about Chance the Rapper at this point. The only news I remember hearing about was his divorce and that video of him grinding on a woman at a carnival when I believe he was still married. I didn't hear a single song off this album, and for 6 years, he allowed The Big Day to be his legacy. That album made actual fans of Chance the Rapper pull away. So it lost the majority of casual fans for him as well, all over an album that aged like milk. Another artist on this list who had an album that aged like milk is Robin Thicke. And this shocked me to find out that Robin Thicke was kind of a one-hit wonder. I know I said I wasn't going to include those on this list, but he gets a pass on a technicality. In my head, I always thought Robin Thicke had been like extremely popular in the early 2000s, like JT or NSYNC popular. So imagine my shock when I found out he was a Nepo baby who was just on the sidelines. People online basically described him as someone who was just there. He was the white guy who was always at the BET Awards for some reason. Born to Alan Thicke, the father on Growing Pains, and Gloria Loring, an actress on Days of Our Lives, Robin Thicke had signed with Interscope Records at only 16 years of age. It was there he would release his debut studio album, A Beautiful World. It flopped. Robin Thicke did not give up though. A few years later, he would sign to Pharrell Williams' record label and then release his second album titled The Evolution of Robin Thicke. And this was kind of a big evolution, seeing as how this album actually made noise. It landed spot number 5 on the Billboard 200. The song Lost Without You peaking number 14 on the Billboard Hot 100. His next 3 albums each had a song that would also peak high on the Billboard Hot 100, but I don't think my generation really knew who he was until 2013. That was the year Robin Thicke would release his most popular song to date, Blurred Lines, featuring T.I. and Pharrell Williams. This song was everywhere that year, and the video even got over 1 million views in just a couple days, which was a crazy amount at this time, especially for someone who was not Beyonce levels of famous. This song also came with controversy though, with lines like, I know you want it, and I hate these blurred lines. The whole song could be seen as kind of rapey. I know, obviously, Robin Thicke meant something more along the lines of, oh, you have a boyfriend, but you're definitely, like, really into me right now. Haha, let's have sex. But man, did it get misconstrued in the long run. The video definitely did not help the stigma around the song at all. While there's an edited version of it, the original video included 3 women dancing around topless while also wearing skin-colored thongs in front of a white background, while Robin Thicke, T.I., and Pharrell pretty much just stand there. This is still somehow uncensored on YouTube to this day. Also, one of the women is Gibby's girlfriend from iCarly. Robin Thicke would defend this song by saying, I've realized as I've gotten older that we all think we're living either in a black or white world or in a straight path, but most of us are living right in between those straight lines. Okay, that's cool, Robin, but what does it have to do with naked women dancing? That same year that Blurred Lines was released, Robin Thicke would perform it during the MTV Music Awards, and I think we all remember this. Miley Cyrus performed with him for reasons I still don't know, but this was during her rebellious Kasha era, so she would wear a tight skin collar outfit while twerking on Robin Thicke. The performance was torn apart online. I don't remember seeing a single good thing said about it. At that time, it became the most tweeted about event in history. And it's also the only thing Robin Thicke is remembered for other than the song itself. He would also get sued and forced to pay $5.3 million because of how similar the song was to Marvin Gaye's Got to Give It Up. So, this is a sad way for your career to go out, now stuck being a judge on The Masked Singer, although I will give him a little respect for walking off stage when the person revealed under a costume was Rudy Giuliani. And while that was cool, Robin Thicke is not the only Nepo baby on this list that had an unusual run-in with a Republican lawmaker, but it's kind of weird it happened twice. One half of LMFAO had a run-in with Mitt Romney, but both members have fallen off. LMFAO consisted of an uncle-nephew duo, and at that time, this was so weird to me because I didn't realize they could be so close in age despite literally having a nephew at the same time who is 8 years younger than me. That's less of a gap than these two, but I guess since they were adults, my 13-year-old brain had tricked me into thinking they were the exact same age, even though looking back now, you could definitely tell who is older. The duo was Uncle Redfoo and nephew Sky Blue. Redfoo is the son of Motown Records founder, making Sky Blue the grandson. So that's where the Nepo baby allegations come in. Motown Records had signed people like Migos, Lil Baby, Erykah Badu, and many more. So obviously this is an important record label. So LMFAO's debut album couldn't fail even if they tried. They released their first single in 2008 titled I'm in Miami, Bitch, and this had made both the Billboard Hot 100 and Canadian Hot 100. This song would go on to be the theme song for Courtney and Chloe Take Miami, making it the second time an LMFAO song was used in that way. Jersey Shore had their song Get Crazy as their theme song, something I did not know was by the duo. LMFAO tried to capitalize on the hype of I'm in Miami, Bitch by releasing the exact same song, but just changing the city they were in. Like, seriously, they did this 51 times. They would go on to release Shots featuring Lil Jon, and this song was going crazy in the clubs, or so I've heard, because I was 9 at the time and still having to ask my mom if I can stay up later to watch Monday Night Raw. Party Rock Anthem would be dropped in 2011, and this is their most popular song to this day. It has 2.5 billion views on YouTube. It didn't have much competition though, although they would release Sexy and I Know It after, a song that also gained a lot of traction. LMFAO would disband only a year later at the height of their short-lived career. They did get to perform at the Super Bowl with Madonna before the hiatus, which is more than anyone on this list can say. September 21st, 2012 is the day the duo released a statement announcing their hiatus. The reason, from Redfoo, was I feel like we've been doing this for so long, 4 or 5 years, and that's actually insane to me because that's how a career works. Some people don't even break into the business after 5 years. It took Sabrina Carpenter like 10 years and 6 albums to finally make it mainstream, and these people just left at the peak of their career. That's crazy. Redfoo would also be sued that year for $7 million by his old management company, claiming a breach in contract. Sky Blue has said in an interview that they weren't broken up, just taking a small hiatus before coming back stronger. Their last YouTube video was 13 years ago, so if anyone is holding out hope for a return, just let it go now, buddy. I couldn't really imagine these two being able to stay relevant or keep up with music trends based on their style, so maybe stopping when you're ahead is a good thing. At least it normally would be until we learned the real reason LMFAO is no more. Sky Blue had come to social media to reveal just how he felt about his uncle. He writes, "The way you belittle people and your crazy power trip was some of the main reasons our relationship as family and partnership greatly suffered." He would then accuse Refu of not caring when he had injured his back on stage, choosing to ignore him before continuing to go on tour under the LMFAO title and completely destroying any credibility they had. That is that of my video. Thank you for listening to me. As always, I hope you have a good rest of your day and feel free to like or even subscribe.